wa rasuluh. Allahumma shalli ala Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Yang kami hormati Pak Dr. Ahmad Saide sebagai Ketua Program Studi Hubungan Internasional Program Magister. Yang kami hormati pembicara kita pada siang hari ini. Yang pertama, Saudara Muhammad Hishamuddin bin Haji Basabah. Beliau adalah pengarah itu apa bahasa Inggrisnya apa? Bukan bahasa Inggrisnya apa? Assistant Director di Institut Pembangunan dan Kecemerlangan di Kementerian Belia dan Sukan, Kementerian Olahraga ya, Kementerian Pemuda dan Olahraga di Malaysia. Kemudian lecturer atau dosen di Asia Pacific University of Technology and Innovation Malaysia. Kemudian didampingi oleh dua rekannya, yaitu sebentar saya cek dulu ya kemarin. Muhammad Azid Nazwan bin Zakaria. Oke. Kemudian Muhammad Faiz bin Muhammad Abu Bakar. Dari beliau ini semua bekerja di Kementerian Pemuda dan Olahraga. Baik. Mari kita buka acara pada siang hari ini dengan membaca basmalah bersama-sama. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dan perlu kami kenalkan Muhammad Hishamuddin, atau saya panggil Hisham ya, biasa Hisham karena Hishamuddin ini adik kelas saya ya, adik kelas saya di waktu saya di Malaysia. Jadi alhamdulillah masih menjalin kontak bersilaturahim, dan insya Allah ke depan kita masih bekerja sama, insya Allah untuk kerjaan akademik yang lain. Pada hari ini kita akan mendengarkan pemaparan diskusi tentang politik di Malaysia dengan judul Pragmatisme Golongan Muda terhadap politik di Malaysia. Nah, ini mungkin agak sesuai ya dengan tema kita pada ya akhir-akhir ini di negara kita, tentang bagaimana golongan muda itu terlibat dalam politik. Nanti kita bisa diskusi lebih lanjut. Dan selanjutnya mungkin langsung saja ya, Pak Saidi akan memberi langsung ya. Jadi kita akan beri waktu untuk Tuan Muhammad Hishamuddin ya. Nanti akan berkolaborasi dengan rekannya untuk memaparkan diskusi pada siang hari. Kita beri waktu ya mungkin full 1 jam 30 menit ya. Ya, nanti silakan nanti 20 menit presentasi, atau sebelumnya diberi tadi mau menghandle satu acara, silakan kita beri kesempatan. Kita beri aplaus kepada para pemateri kita. Persilakan.
Kali ini punya pembentangan sesi ini mungkin agak berlainan daripada yang sebelum-sebelum ini. Kami cuba bawakan kaedah yang kami apply di Malaysia ya. Mungkin nak mengurangkan, yang pertamanya nak mengurangkan adik-adik semua daripada nanti mengantuk. Kan nanti semua ditunduk-tunduk itu aja kan. Ya. Baik. Nama saya Muhammad Faiz bin Muhammad Abu Bakar. Alhamdulillah hari ini bersama dengan rakan ya, insyaAllah Dr. Hisham dan Azid, Tuan Hazid ya. Kami daripada, kalau ke Malaysia itu ya adik, di Putrajaya itu ada satu kementerian namanya Kementerian Belia dan Sukan. Ya, Belia dan Sukan. Dan kami ni di bawah satu agensi, nama dia Institut Pembangunan dan Kecemerlangan. Kalau bahasa Inggerisnya ILEAD namanya gitu ya. Baik. Sebelum kita pergi lebih jauh, sebelum Encik Hisham teruskan dengan pembentangan beliau. Okey Dik. Saya nak mohon, nak minta semua, boleh tak tolong letak semua pen dan apa saja yang anda semua pegang. Kan, letak dulu. Kan. Supaya sesi ini jadi lebih santai dan tidak tidak formal. Okey, sebelum tu saya terlupa, kita ada sedikit cenderahati, oleh-oleh daripada Malaysia. Jadi silalah ambil. Kalau dipakai itu besarlah hati kami. Cukup ke Cik? Cukup. Yang perempuan kita bagi lebih, tak apa. Okey. Yang di depan ni? Ni, abang-abang di depan ni? Baik, mungkin kita boleh berkenalan secara random ya adik-adik semua, seorang ataupun dua orang, dan supaya nanti kita boleh panggil ke macam mana ke. Adik di depan ini siapa namanya? Daripada mana? Khususnya apa? Sudah tahun berapa? Sedikitlah. Sophie. Okey. Kalau kampung dia panggil apa ya? Asalnya? Sumatera, Jambi. Dah jumpa dah orang kampung. Yang sebelahnya? Fira. Manado. Ya. Kita di Malaysia tu kita ada seorang artis. Nama dia Maria Manado. Dah betul. Dia memang asalnya dari Sulawesi. Ya. Adik ni? Aidil. Sulawesi. Manado, Sulawesi. Abang yang handsome ni? Ya. Dari Semarang. Dari Semarang. Semarang. Ayalah tempat kita lalu hari tu. Kami tahun lepas ke Semarang, lalu di situ ya. Yang abang-abang di depan ini siapa namanya? Dari mana? Pontianak. Kat Sarawak. Okey. Madura. Madura yang di side pulau itu. Dengan Masjid Sheikh Khalil itu dekat ke jauh tu? Lumayan jauh. Ya. Keluarganya Mahfud MD. Staff. Ya. Ya, abang ini? Saya Arkan. Jogja, dari Jogja. Ini adik ini? Saya Refi Abdul Rahman dari Sumatera Selatan. Spesifiknya itu tempatnya? Di Palembang. Palembang. Okey. Yang belakang tu nanti kita akan panggil juga. Okey adik. Kita nak santai-santai dan nak berseronok lah di samping kita dengar pembentangan daripada Encik Hisham. Baik. Boleh tak semua tolong bangun? Semua tolong bangun sekejap. Berdiri. Berdiri. Bangun. Tolong. Bangun tidur ya? Maaf. Kita bangun itu berdiri. Okey. Baik. Yang staff kat Abah ya, yang adik-adik ini. Kita nak have fun sekejap. Baik. Boleh lepaskan dulu apa-apa, tangan kasih free. Kasih free. Okey, baik. Tolong gosok tangan. Sejuk kan? Ya. Sejuk kan? Okey. Tolong gosok tangan. Kita laju berarti kita dilanjutkan ya. Dilanjutkan itu gosok tangan itu. Kan? Sambil gosok tu boleh tak tolong bagi senyuman yang paling manis sekali? Senyuman. Kalau muka di Malaysia tu dia kata muka muncung. Muka muncung. Jadi kita senyum. Okey. Sekali lagi. Baik. Paling laju. Sampai di tapak tangan itu rasa ada sikit apa. Okey. Jadi ini first session ini sebelum mula. Buat apa yang saya kata. Okey, gosok laju. Buat apa yang saya kata. Okey, tengok saya. Buat apa yang saya kata. Laju. Laju, pegang dagu. Pegang dagu. Pegang dagu. Okey, belum lagi. Belum lagi. Okey. Okey. Mulakan perlahan, makin laju. Makin laju, lagi. Buat apa yang saya kata. Tengok saya di sini, tengok saya. Okey, pegang pipi. Ada yang masih mungkin cari pipi ni mana? Okey. Yang terakhir. Okey, gosok. Tolong pandang orang yang berdiri yang di sebelah anda. Memandang. Apa itu? Tengok. Berhadapan dengan dia. Ya gitu.
Gitu.
Abang ni dengan saya aja. Okey.
Bahasa Kedah. That is not Malaysian.
Tengok dia sambil senyum dekat dia. Bagi senyuman yang paling manis. Ya. Okey. Ya. Sambil senyum gosok laju. Bila saya kata 1, 2, 3 kan. Jadi kita 1, 2, 3. Kita sharekan demi energi kita pak tangan itu dengan kawan dia sampai keluarkan suara. Ha. Okey. Ready. Senyum. Okey, ready. 1, 2, 3. Okey, tukar. Belum lagi. Tukar orang yang lain. Okey, sekali lagi. Ready, laju. Sudah lenguh kan? Okey, lari. Ready, 1, 2, 3. Okey. Terima kasih boleh duduk. Baru nampak abang yang sebelah kanan sini. Okey, baik. Sebelum saya dah on. Okey, sebelum saya serahkan sesi kepada Encik Syam, adik-adik sekalian, boleh tak kita dapatkan sedikit respon daripada anda semua, daripada kamu semua? Apa yang anda mungkin harapkan ataupun nak dengar ataupun your expectation? Ya, your expectation daripada presentation Encik Syam pada petang ini. Inilah apa-apa sajalah yang boleh dikongsikan. Silakan. Macam ya, silakan.
Langsung je. Karena saya awalnya tu ini kenal politik Malaysia lewat pembahasan tentang ini etnisisasi, macam ini Melayu sama Melayu, Cina sama Cina. Jadi yang saya harapkan tu untuk membahas tentang poin tu. Ya.
Terima kasih. Okey, ada lagi? Adik-adik di depan ini? Semua pun ambil IR kan? International Relation. Ada yang buat research berkaitan dengan di Malaysia selain daripada adik ni? Tak ada. Apa researchnya? Peran pemuda dalam aspek politik di Malaysia. Cik Syam. Mungkin satu lagi kita boleh ambil. Apa-apa saja, insya-Allah bakal dilayan. Yang pertama tadi hubungan antara etnik, yang kedua tadi peranan pemuda ya dalam politik di Malaysia. Mungkin satu lagi. Ya. Apa Aulia? Lebih spesifik Syam, industri. Halal industri antara Malaysia dan Indonesia. Baik, saya rasa 3 itu cukup. Mungkin nanti kalau ada lagi boleh tambah. Terima kasih adik-adik semua untuk kehadiran pada petang ini. Sebelum saya nak serahkan mic ini kepada Encik Syam, ada satu soalan saya nak tanya anda semua. Okay? If you all can answer. Okay? What is 5Q plus 5Q? what is 5Q plus 5Q? Akan jadi? You are welcome. Terima kasih.
Baik, terima kasih telah memberi ice breaking itu ya, ice breaking dan pengantar yang menarik supaya forum ini lebih ceria tentunya. Baik, saya persilakan pada Encik Hisham ya untuk melanjutkan sesi ini. Terima kasih.
Okay, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wal 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Alhamdulillah, thank you so much to Dr. Ali for your invitation to me to present what we call as a simple presentation today. And I will deliver my presentation about the pragmatism of the youth toward politics in Malaysia. And don't worry, I just deliver about the hour, okay? I didn't take a time for you more than 2:30, if I'm not mistaken, okay? That's okay. And I know everybody has their own business to work for your further, what do you want to do after the class. Okay, guys. My name is Muhammad Hishamuddin bin Haji Basabah. You can call me Mr. Hisham. And of course, I'm from Malaysia. And I was born in Johor, the southern part of the Peninsula Malaysia. And I'm working in, Kemenpora of Malaysia. KBS, we call as a KBS, Kementerian Belia dan Sukan, as assistant director of the ILIT KBS. And in the same time, I'm working as a lecturer in Asia Pacific University, and I teach about international relations. And today I want to go into this next what we call next slide. Okay, first, only 5 content I will deliver our lecture today. First, introduction of Malaysia. The second one is Malaysian administrative structure. The third one is nature of politics for youth and politics, partisan ideology versus pragmatism. And the last one is about politics and national sovereignty. Just want to clear how far you know about Malaysia. With the honest, okay? You can answer my question in Bahasa, don't worry. I'm understand in every single word in Bahasa Indonesia because I'm always reading a book of Indonesia writer, right? Don't worry, you can answer my question in Bahasa. So, how far you know about Malaysia? Can you please? Come on, master student. You are not the undergraduate student anymore. You are the master student. So, how far you know about Malaysia? What is your perspective towards Malaysia? Just general perspective. Please. Positively or negatively. It's okay. You can give even the negatively, it's okay for me because this is the academic discourse, okay? What is opinion? What do you think? Oh, Malaysia is maling. Malaysia is always cheating when we have what we call bola sepak in sepak bola, something like that, right? Okay, you can say anything what you want to say because I want to know your opinion, your true opinion about Malaysia, please. You just know Malaysia is the country who are Upin and Ipin origin, that's all. What else? Please, yeah, sure.
Maybe from its infrastructure it's very different.
Okay.
Because if I compare with my area in West Kalimantan and just with Kuching, in the capital of Sarawak, it's very different.
Okay.
So in Malaysia, it's better than we here for the infrastructure. And maybe based on what I know, Malaysia is ada 3 suku.
Okay.
Chinese, India, and Malay.
Okay. Are you honest with your opinion? Because this is very positively opinion from Indonesia. Because usually we are Malaysian always heard negatively from Indonesian via social media. Yeah, seriously. Yeah. So the reality is not like that, right? The reality is not like that. Same like Malaysia, you are always heard about the negatively for Indonesian from Malaysian, but positively, the reality is not like that. Because as we are Malaysian, three of us is Malaysian here. We will, yeah, we are very enjoying when we are in Indonesia. So, guys, introduction of Malaysia. I would like to introduce my country to Indonesia because, yes, not many more in Indonesian know about Malaysia properly, and today it is my responsibility to give something new perspective about Malaysia. Please, we go move to the next slide. Okay, firstly, you have to know the location of Malaysia. Malaysia is located in Southeast Asia. Okay, we are not located in other other continents. We are located in Southeast Asia, and we have bordered with the Indonesia, land and sea. All right, in the eastern Malaysia, Sabah and Sarawak, we are bordered with the Kalimantan. Kalimantan Utara, Kalimantan, what we call as a Pontianak is located where? West Kalimantan, Kalbar, right, Kalbar, and also Kalimantan Tengah, if I'm not mistaken. So this is the land bordered with the Indonesia. In the water, in the sea, the Peninsula Malaysia, we have shared the border with the Sumatra. Okay, we have shared in the South China Sea. We are shared with the Natuna Islands, right, Capri, and we are shared in the Sabah also. So this is the location of Malaysia in Southeast Asia. Guys, before I further my presentation today, are you prefer me to speak in Bahasa or in English? English, because you didn't know about the something terms in Bahasa Melayu Malaysia, right? Because my friends just now, he delivered the ice breaking, so you are buffering to accept the information and instruction from him, right? Okay, it's okay. So this is a Southeast Asia location. And guys, actually, I don't know the fellow Malaysian. For me, I am very glad to share the border with Indonesia, especially in the water, in the sea area. Why? Why? Because in Southeast Asia and the Malacca Strait, this is a very crucial area for the international relations. For example, as we know, the Malacca Strait is one of the busiest strait in the world. Okay, this is Malacca Strait. And the other part in Southeast Asia, in the South China Sea, we are very, very crucial water because we are facing on the new balance of power between China and what? Thank you so much. And US. This is the new balance of power of Southeast Asia. Okay? So, in ASEAN, we have 11 members of ASEAN, and the new one is from Timor-Leste, as we know, all right? That is one of the bekas, or the, what we call a bekas province from Indonesia, right? Okay, they have the independent from Indonesia. So in northern, we are sharing border with the Thailand. Okay, so this is the location of Malaysia. So we're going to the next slide. All right, guys, for your information, the model of Malaysia is not same with the Indonesia. It's not same. All right. In Indonesia, they are using the model Kesatuan, NKRI, Negara Kesatuan Republik Indonesia. That is the model of Indonesia. But in Malaysia, we are using the model of federalism, which means before Malaysia get their independence, the other state, we have the 14 state in Malaysia, they are the sovereign state. Before they are formed Malaysia as a new country in 1963. All right, so we have the 14 state in Federation of Malaysia, from northern until southern, and southern part is Johor and the northern part is Perlis, the smallest state in Peninsular Malaysia, and we have another territory, Sabah and Sarawak, in eastern of Malaysia. So this is our Federation of Malaysia. There's a very different type. There's a very different a model if you want to compare between Malaysia and Indonesia. So this is the model of Malaysia. We go into the next slide. All right. As our friends just mentioned just now, okay, Malaysia has a three race in Malaysia, right? Malay, Chinese, and Indian. But please don't forget about the Bumi Putras, others Bumi Putras who live in Sabah and Sarawak. Sabah and Sarawak. And for information, yes, first, the Malaysian is multiracial. If you see in this slide, just multiracial. Guys, for information, and I just want to share with you, the fact of Malaysia is actually a Malay country that is state significantly under the Federal Constitution of Malaysia in 153, Article 153, Article 152. Right? This is significantly said that the Malaysia is the Malays country, but this is only on our federal constitution. The reality is Malaysia is multiracial country. Seems like you. Okay? I don't think that Indonesia is multiracial, Dr. Ali. Maybe Indonesia is multicultural. Yes? Because if you say the multiracial means every race who live in your country or my country, they are not blend together properly. No. But for Indonesia models, every ethnic, every race, they are blend together, and that's why we call as a bangsa Indonesia. If I'm correct? Right? But you have the various culture, you have a different culture between the ethnic and something like that. So Malaysia is for the fact, yes, Malaysia is a Malay country, but the reality is Malaysia is multiracial country. Why multiracial? Because in Malaysia, we have a Malay as the majority. When we are speak about the Malay, when we are talking about the Malay, we are talking about the Bumi Putras, other Bumi Putras. Okay, in Indonesia, we call as a Pribumi. Do you understand the meaning of Bumi Putra? Right. Similar, right? The similar word, the similar meaning. All right. So this is a Bumi Putra. Other than Bumi Putra, we have Chinese Malaysian, we have Indian Malaysian. They are born, they are being as a citizen of Malaysia since independent in 1957, the form of Malaysia in 1963 until now. So they are a part of Malaysia. So that is multiracial. Under multiracial, we have a various language, culture, and tradition. Okay, I'm starting with the language. In Malaysia, the official language of Malaysia is Bahasa Melayu. Bahasa Melayu. Who are living in Jambi just now? Jambi. Are you Malay? Are you Malay? Melayu? You are Melayu, right? So that is ethnic. Okay. If we want to compare Melayu in Malaysia, Malay in Malaysia and Malay in Indonesia, there is very difference. Okay. Malay in Malaysia, they are called as a race, bangsa. Malay in Indonesia, they are one of the ethnic in Indonesia. There's a very difference. Okay, normally in Indonesia, Malay is located in Jambi, Kepri, Riau, maybe a certain part in the northern Sumatra and something like that, right? If I'm not mistaken, Bangka, Belitung, right? So this is the region of Malay in Indonesia. So language in Malaysia officially is Bahasa Melayu and is stated in Article 152 under Federal Constitution, which means every citizen, every people of Malaysia, they must to speak in Bahasa Melayu. Okay? If you meet up with the other Malaysian who cannot speak in Bahasa Melayu, for sure, they are not truly Malaysia. They don't have a sense of belonging with Malaysia. So, for today, I had to speak in Bahasa, in English because the majority of you maybe not familiar with the Bahasa Melayu in Malaysian dialects. Okay, maybe. So, what we call untuk memudahkan for our communication. That's why today I had to speak in English. Even I don't like to speak in English because this is my country. This is not my language. Right, but it's okay. So this is about the language. Okay, guys. Under 152, the Article 152 in Federal Constitution who state the Bahasa Melayu as the federal is the what we call official language, the Malaysian language. In the same time, we are acknowledge the other language who speak in Malaysia, English, Mandarin, Tamil, what we call the something some dialect who are spoken with other ethnic in Malaysia in Sabah and Sarawak. This okay, but when the Malaysian want to do some business or some what we call urusan with the government office, they should be speak in Bahasa Melayu. That's all. Same like you, right? Same what with Indonesia. Is it Indonesian cannot speak Bahasa Indonesia? Adakah? Enggak ada kan? In every Indonesian, they must to speak in Bahasa Indonesia. So same like Malaysia. In culture, yes, the culture of Malaysia is multi. We are multi-culture. We have the culture of Malay, we have the culture of Chinese, Indian, and so on. Okay, so that's why with the certain citizen outside of Malaysia, they said that Malaysia is one of the confusing country. They said Malaysia is confusing country. Why? Because the certain time the Malaysian want to be a Malay. Sometimes Malaysian want to be a Chinese. Sometimes Malaysian want to be Indian. When they are watching the K-drama, they want to be a Korean. When they are here or what we call watching the Sinetron, they want to be an Indonesian. You know, the reality is the Indonesia has their what we call soft power of Malaysia. What is the meaning of soft power? You're studying, right, about the hard power and soft power. So what is the Indonesia's soft power towards Malaysia? Culture, are you sure? Culture? We are sharing a culture actually. So that is not about the soft power. The soft power when some country, they admit the culture from the other country, their song, their movie, their drama and something like that, and they are allowed the art from the other country towards in their life. That is the meaning of culture. So even we have the multicultural, Chinese, Malay, Indian, and Bumiputra in Sabah and Sarawak, but the basic of Malaysia is oriented based on the Malay-oriented culture. So, and tradition is also like the culture. So we are from the Malaysia as the sovereign country since 1963. Why I said 1963? Because 1957 we got independent with the diplomatic way. Okay, we don't like a fighting because we cannot fight. Yes, we don't like fighting because we cannot fight. So what we can do? Diplomacy. Discuss win-win situation. All right, so we are we are independent from British in 1957, and we are formed the new Malaysian in 1963 with participation from Sabah and Sarawak. Sabah and Sarawak, they are not joint Malaysia. They are not joint Malaysia. Sabah and Sarawak, they are formed Malaysia along with the Malaya. So this is the reality of Malaysia, the formation of Malaysia, formation of Federation of Malaysia. Okay, we're going to the next slide. So this is Malaysian. We have the three category. First category is indigenous people, what we call as orang asli, who live in Peninsular Malaysia. You know the orang asli. Orang asli seems like the Sakai, Mahmeri, the ethnic of the orang asli. Okay, we call as Proto-Malay. Proto-Malay, okay? And the second category is the Bumiputras, Malays, Sabahan native, and Sarawakian native. Sabahan native in Sabah is about 34 ethnic of Sabah. They have a various language, ethnic, and so on. This is who are in Sabah. In Sarawak, 28 ethnic from Sarawak, okay? Plus, so that's why we call as we are multiracial. And the third category is Malaysian Chinese and Malaysian Indian. All right, guys, this is the category of the Malaysian citizen, So we're going to the next slide. We go into the Malaysian admin structure. Who is the current Prime Minister of Malaysia? Anwar Ibrahim? Are you sure? Who is current Prime Minister of Malaysia? Are you sure? You should to say, yes, I'm sure, Anwar Ibrahim. Yes, exactly, true, Anwar Ibrahim. Come on, as a master student, you have the confidence, high confidence, even wrong. Yes, because this is an IR student. Me, as an IR student, during my first degree, my master degree, when I answering the question from my lecture, even the wrong, and my lecturer said, this is wrong. I had said, yes, my answer is true. Even I know false. So because the high esteem. So as a student of IR, you have the high esteem, you have confidence when you're answering the question, even wrong. So your answer is true. So you have the double confidence. Okay. Who is the longest Prime Minister tenure as a Prime Minister in Malaysia of Malaysia? Mahathir Mohamad, because his name is in the what we call for you, right? Okay. How many Prime Minister of Malaysia from then until now? Come on, Indonesian. I know all the president of Indonesia from Sukarno until now, Jokowi. And maybe I know your future president for your pemilu in 2024. Maybe, all right? No, I don't know that. Who? How many Prime Minister of Malaysia from 1957 until now? As an IR student, other than Indonesia, you should to know the neighbor country. Who is your close neighbor country? No, not Singapore. Singapore don't like you. Me, Malaysia like you. Even we are in the love-hate relation. You know the meaning of the love-hate relation? The certain time we love, the certain time we hate. Right? We are hate only when we are have a soccer or the football match. That's all. After that we are love back. So many Malaysian married with Indonesian. So many Indonesian married with the Malay girl. Seriously. That we call as a hubungan rentas sempadan. So how many Prime Minister of Malaysia from then until now? 10. Are you Google that? Yeah. It's good. He using the technology. Yes. You optimize the technology. It's good because we are in 2024. We are not in 2009 during Dr. Ali as a student. During me as a student in 2011. No. So you are the 2023 student, you should to optimize the Google and something like that. Don't say that you don't, no, I ban Google. Why? Israel product. No. Please use their weapon to attack them back. Okay. So this is a Malaysian administration. Okay, I want to share with you about what is actually Malaysian administrative structure. We're going to the next slide. Okay, I don't have a time anymore. 2:54. So how many time I have? 15 minutes. Oh, I have 93 slides. Okay, guys. This is my hour. Okay, me, Mr. Aziz, and Mr. What else? Okay, Mr. Faiz, our head of state of Malaysia. Head of state of Malaysia is actually not a Prime Minister of Malaysia. Not is Anwar Ibrahim. Head of state of Malaysia is our Sri Paduka Baginda yang di Pertuan Agong, as we call as Agong. Who is Agong nowadays? Sultan Abdullah Ahmad Shah, Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Mustafa Billah Shah from the state of Pahang. So this is our methodology, our way to manage our country. We choose the constitutional monarchy, parliamentary democracy. We're going to the next slide. All right. So the king is above, but don't forget, above the king we have the federal constitution. We have the federal constitution. So the king, they cannot do anything they want, and they should to follow the federal constitution. So that's what we call as the constitutional monarchy. So under the king, we have the three of bodies. First, legislative, executive, and judiciary. Where is Anwar Ibrahim staying? He's staying in executive as a prime minister, but in the same time, he stays in the legislative as the member of parliament for Tambun. Parliament of Tambun. So, legislative means parliament. We have two bodies under parliament, three bodies under parliament. Agong, Dewan Rakyat, as we know is DPR here. Okay, and we have a Senate, as we call as Dewan Negara. So, this is a legislative bodies. Executive, who live under the executive bodies. First, Prime Minister and his cabinet. Okay, Malaysia have the 33, Mr. Aziz, right? 33 minister, okay, which means 33 ministry. So under the judiciary means court. Okay, from the lowest court, session or magistrate court, until the highest, as we call as the Supreme Court, as we call as the what in Indonesia called Mahkamah Agung, right? Right. All right. So that is the judiciary. So this is the administrative structure of Malaysia. We're going to the next slide. Dr. Ali, I don't think that 1 hour is enough for me actually, but it's okay. I try. Okay. We have 9 sultan. We have 9 ruler of the state in Malaysia. Who is them? First, we have one Yang di-Pertuan Agong, King of Malaysia. We are going to with the rotation system in every 5 years, and the tenure of the Sultan Abdullah as our Sri Paduka Baginda di-Pertuan Agong will be end on January next year, 2024. So in 2024, you get a new president and we get a new Agong. So we are same, but the difference is we cannot choose our Agong, but you can choose your president. Okay, so where the Agungs come? They come from he come from the 9 of Raja Melayu, Malay kings in the 9 state. What is state? Johor, Pahang, Terengganu, Kelantan, Perlis, Kedah, Perak, Selangor, and Negeri Sembilan. And we have 4 yang di-Pertuan Negeri as we know as a governor. Who is governor? Sabah, Sarawak, Melaka, and Pulau Pinang. Indonesian know Penang. Penang. Malaysia called Penang. Why? Because Malaysia is under British colonials. You are under the Dutch colonial. Okay. So this is our structure. We're going to next political system. Okay. What is political system of Malaysia? Next slide. Guys, government formation in Malaysia, we have the parliamentary seat 222. So how to get a simple majority? Every party, no, actually in Malaysia we don't have a party who are contest in the election by themselves. They must form a coalition with the other party. So in Malaysia we have the biggest 3 biggest coalition. First, Perikatan Nasional. First is Pakatan Harapan. Okay. Second one is Barisan Nasional, and the third one is Perikatan Nasional. So why the two alliance, the two coalition using the national? Because they are from what we call as one ideology actually. Because the Perikatan Nasional actually they are from Barisan Nasional. After a few problem, they are going out from the Barisan Nasional and form the new political party. So that's why they are going to Perikatan Nasional. So if you want to form the new government after some election in Malaysia, you should go into 112 majority, so you can get the simple majority. That will be happen in 2018. Okay, the simple majority got. But the worst case scenario is happen in 2022 when every coalition they cannot have a simple majority to form a new government for Malaysia until our Agong said to them to form a new government, and they have to allies with the Pakatan Harapan and Barisan Nasional to form a new government. That's what we call as a unity government, Kerajaan Perpaduan. So how to get the 2/3 majority? They should get a 148 majority. So when the certain party or the certain what we call as a political coalition get the 148 majority in our country, they can do a new policy. They can amend the federal constitution. Okay, escape 4. First, Article 3 about Islam as our state religion. Second one, 152 about Bahasa Melayu as our official language. The third one is 153. Article 153 is about the privilege for Malay Bumiputra. Okay, and the third one is 161 about the supremacy of the Sultan, supremacy of the Agong. Okay, so the 4 things cannot be amended in the federal constitution. So we go into the next slide. Okay, the government of Malaysia, they have a 3. First, the federal government, as we know, the Mr. Anwar Ibrahim is our prime minister, so he's the leader of the federal government. In the same time, we also have the state government, because we are the federal state, we are the federal country, the name Federal of Malaysia. So every 13, okay, we have the 14 state, every 13 state in Malaysia, they have their own governor, they have their own chief minister, they have their own menteri besar, okay, head of or leader of the state. So this is state government, and the local authority we call as a pihak berkuasa tempatan. Okay, they are responsible to take a tax, what we call something about the what we call about the small development who are in the state, in the local authority. Okay, this is a government in Malaysia. So in the next slide, nature of politics. For sure, every single of you know about what is politics, so no need to me to elaborate about what is politics. We're going to the crucial things. What is politics? Okay, we're going to the next slide. What is democracy? Malaysia and Indonesia, we are the same, the democracy system, but we have the slightly, not the slightly, actually we have the different, okay, obvious different, significant different about the Malaysia and Indonesia. Indonesia using the presidential system, we are using as a monarchy, parliamentary system. So you know about what is democracy. We are going to the next slide. Okay guys, that is youth and politics. Everybody in front of me is a youth, right? And also your lecturer is still youth, okay? What is youth? Youth in Malaysia, okay, a political scene in Malaysia has become so fragmented that no one political party is dominant enough to rule. This present an opportunity for a new and fresh youth-led political movement to start leading platform that will attract young people and give them space to express themselves. The participation of the youth in Malaysia is become increased in 2018. Why youth in Malaysia want to participate in the election 2018? Why? Because they want to change the government. That's the reality. This is the reality. They want to change the government because they don't want the former government. Okay, so they know their power via the vote. So they must to vote to change the new government, for the new government. They don't want to do a coup d'état. They don't want to do some revolution, because that is not our culture. So they want to vote a new party. So the result is the new party formed after 2018. But we have still a but. But the stability of Malaysia can be happen because every politician during at that time, they have their own interests. Every political party in Malaysia, they have their own interests. I think same with Indonesia. And because why? Because this is a human being. This is a human being. So we're going back to the realism perspective, state of nature of state, right? The unitary actor, same like Malaysia. Because state is the biggest unit, we're going to the individual. Individual is the smallest unit. So this is about the youth and politics, and the youth have been exposed to politics and elections since they were in the school and at university, where they are required to participate in campus election every year. Is it UMA have the election for choosing your student council in every year? Did you? Who is? Do you have the president of student council here? Are you compulsory to participate or just optional? Optional. Okay. In Malaysia, in public university or in the private university, that is the compulsory for every student to participate during the campus election. Yes, because this is the what we call as a democracy education towards Malaysia. So, school, we have a lot of program to teach the student who are living in the school about the democracy. We have the product from ILIT KBS. We are sharing our knowledge via Sekolah Rukun Negara. Yes, even Rukun Negara in Malaysia and all for Indonesia we call as the what we call Pancasila. In Indonesia we call as Pancasila. In Malaysia we call as Rukun Negara. Still 5 of Pancasila, 5 of Rukun Negara, same. All right. So we teach them about the democracy, how to vote, responsibility to participate in the election. So that's why, because the democracy is very important, the politics is very important. Why? Because the politics is as a tool to get a power, to increase a power, to maintain a power. That's why that's based on the Kenneth Walsh, as the realist said in his book. Okay. So this is a youth and politics in Malaysia. We're going to the next slide. Okay, why youth in Malaysia nowadays they don't have any partisan? The majority of them, okay, the minority still have the partisan ideology, but the majority of youth in Malaysia they don't have anymore about the partisan. They don't have a partisan ideology. Why? Can you see at the slide? They said the ideology of pragmatism appeared more widely in Malaysia since GE14, general election in 2018, which is a reaction from the youth to the political scenario at the time. For them, there is no political party that can guarantee their future, because every political party in Malaysia is more than just to get the power. That's the reality. This has happened in Malaysia. So that's why the youth in Malaysia, they don't want to have a partisan ideology because they don't want to be dikecewakan. You know, they don't want to be dikecewakan. That is not only love you dikecewakan, but in politics also you can be dikecewakan. Okay, so that is what we call why the youth in Malaysia nowadays they change from the partisan ideology to the pragmatism. What is the meaning of pragmatism? Realistic. Realistic. If you can give more, I will vote you. But if you only said, oh, this is a Malay supremacy for Islam, but in the same time, you are not ruled as the Muslim. So what for? We are vote for you. So that's why the youth nowadays, they change from the pragmatism to the, from the partisan ideology to the pragmatism. So why? Because the youth nowadays they face a lot of problem of the high debt burden, the ability to own a house, as well as the challenge of starting a household while depending on the property left by the family, as opposed to working hard and hoping for talent, are also factors in today's youth generation not believing in partisan ideology. So this is the factor, the main factor why youth in Malaysia change from the partisan ideology going to pragmatism ideology. Okay, this is the ideology of pragmatism. We're going to the next slide. Okay, again, next slide. Okay, this is a question about the causes of youth pragmatism in Malaysia. Dissatisfaction with the existing political system. Okay, why? Because there are always happen about the what we call party hopping in Malaysia. Okay, the second one is global influence and technology. Global influence and technology seems like social media. Okay, social media. So, response to the political promise, that is the normal for politicians to give their promise, but the reality is they are not what we call kotakan janji, not fulfill their promise. Okay, and the last is political party or political individual. In 1960s until 1990s, okay, normally the individual of Malaysia, the voter in Malaysia, they choose political party. Yes, political party. But after 2014, the election on 2014 onwards until now, they are choose the individual. If the individual is capable to be a politician, to be a leader, so they are vote for that politician. If the policy is come from the good political party, they still that politician, that candidate still cannot get the vote from the voters. So this is the reality, the political reality among the youth in Malaysia. So maybe this is the last next slide. Political and national sovereignty. What is the what we call about the politics and national sovereignty? Okay, we go into politics and national sovereignty. First, the instability politics will cost first economy, social, and security. We are going to security. Why? Because you are an IR student. First, religious and racial conflict. If you don't have the stability or instability in politics, for sure you have to face the religious and racial conflict. Because we are Malaysian, we are apply the integration model. Now we are integration model. For Indonesian, you apply the assimilation, okay, assimilate model, assimilasi. All the ethnic in Indonesia will become one, okay. But in Malaysia, we are using the integration model or accommodation model. So Malay, Chinese, and Indian, we accommodate and we are live together. So the other one is the intervention from the other power. When your nation, where your country is not stable, the other country, especially from the major country, just now we have the United States and China in Asia Pacific, they will intervene into your domestic matters. And the other one is national sovereignty is threatened, seems like I just mentioned about territorial separation. As the federation country, we are actually very fragile. Why? Because every state in Malaysia, they have their own sovereignty. So if the national politics of Malaysia is not stable, so the state who are not same the politics with the what we call in federal level, they want to separate with the country. But until now, that is not still didn't happen in Malaysia. Alhamdulillah. So the last is colonization. Guys, colonialization is the highest stage of capitalism based on Leninist. The highest stage of capitalism is actually colonization. So when you live in instability, you don't have a foreign investment. You don't have a tourist from Indonesia. You don't have a tourist from China. You don't have a tourist from around the world. So that will cost the economy for Malaysia. So if the economy of Malaysia will decrease, so the other country will give the intervention to your country. So this is about my presentation, guys. Thank you so much.
Pak Hisham ya, Pak Hisham. Okay, thank you for your presentation. Very good exploring how Malaysian shaping politics from the early until today. Okay, silakan yang ingin bertanya. Terus Audi. Silakan. Okay, satu. Oke, satu dulu. Audi, silakan.
I would like to know more regarding your opinion.
Okay.
As we know that the youth one is mostly
Okay.
and they also tend to be the one that always idealize,
Mhm.
flexible.
Mhm.
And I believe I read some of the research that this actually is easier to indoctrinate.
Okay.
So yeah, especially those who are uneducated.
Mm.
So what do you think and how to avoid it? So the youth can have more substantive participation in politics.
Okay, thank you so much, Audi. Can I answer? Okay. Thank you so much, Audi. That is the difficult question actually because he asked me about my opinion, not the fact. Because the opinion nggak ada betul, nggak ada salah, isn't it? Okay, so when we are talking about the participation among the youth to politics, why they are changed a lot from previously until now, because the what we call as the history of the political system. Okay, for Malaysia, right? For Malaysia, I don't know about the record. Masih, okay, fine. We show in the YouTube, right? Okay, so perlu berhati-hati lah. I don't like the live, okay, but it's okay. Macam mana nak cari yang paling murni supaya keluar kat YouTube tu perkara yang murni-murni. Saya nak jawab yang terus terang je, Saudara Faiz dan juga Azid. Okay, guys, macam ni. When we are talking about the politics, how to intervene about the democracy education. Okay, for Malaysia, we apply the democracy education since they are in school until they are graduate from the university. So when we want to work for the youth who are now and intelligent in the politics, we should to give their space to participate in politics. Why? Because they are learn about the theory. Seems like you, right? As a student, you learn so many theory in international relations. You study about the realism, you study about the liberalism, you study about the Marxism, constructivism, and every zim. Yes, the new debate, the Copenhagen School, that is not enough. You go to Yale University, you try to find a new journal for the Yale University, Harvard University, Johns Hopkins University, and all the university from around the world. Escape Indonesia and Malaysia. Why? Because you don't think that is not prestige to take a journal from Indonesia and Malaysia, I guess. Okay. So you have the theories in your head, but you don't have a space to apply your knowledge. So in the politician every country, they should give the space for the youth to participate into the politics. Such as you have a candidate from the youth in in your pemilu, right? So give the space to him. And we in Malaysia, we have the youth minister. Okay, in 2018, we have Syed Saddiq, okay, the Minister of Kementerian Belia dan Sukan, Menpora. Okay, we have the minister, the youth. Okay, during at that time, he continue as the minister when he 26 years old. 26 years old, he become a minister. Before him, we have Khairi Jamaluddin. Okay, during 2017, we have the SEA Games in Kuala Lumpur. Every netizen in Indonesia said, "Oh, handsomenya KJ." They said the Menpora from Malaysia is very handsome, very what we call very good looking. That is the Khairi Jamaluddin, tall, dark, and handsome. During his tenure as the minister of the KBS, okay, I think you know about the KBS, Kementerian Belia dan Sukan, okay, KBS. He are only 38 or 37 years old, if I'm not mistaken. So that is the news. And we have so many parliament members who are elected during our previous election. For example, our former Prime Minister Najib Razak, he became as a Menteri Besar, as a Chief Minister for State of Pahang when he in 28 until 30s, if I'm mistaken. So this is still young. Anwar Ibrahim, when he became as a Deputy Prime Minister in 1993, is it true, 1993? He is only 47 years old. In politics, okay, Audi and all my friends, in politics, when you are in 60, you're still young. Yes, but for lecturer, 60, you have to retire. Okay, but then maybe Dr. Ali, after you retire from to be as a lecturer, you can be a politician, inshallah. And maybe, who knows, right? So the participation, the space for the youth to participation in politics. So guys, as Indonesian, Malaysian, we are sharing so many similarity about mentality. Yes, we are sharing a similar mentality. You said Malaysia goblok. For example, Malaysian said you bodoh. So bodoh and goblok is the same meaning. Because why? Because you share so many similarity of mentality. Attitude. You have shared what we call culture actually, okay? So that's why that is from our attitude, our mentality. So guys, give a chance to the youth, and yes, they don't have experience, don't have enough experience, but if you didn't give them then an experience, when they can get the experience. So, ini masanya untuk kamu semua menjadi pemimpin, insyaAllah. Okay, thank you. Right? Oh, 3 soalan tadi? Okey, tak apa, kita begini, nanti aku terus conclude. Oh ya, ambil.
Thank you for the opportunity, Doctor. I want to ask your perspective. How the Malaysia response about hegemony in the hegemony between China and US in the South China Sea?
Okay. Thank you so much. Wow, very IRS question. Okay guys, when we're talking about the hegemonic power in Southeast Asia, we should to analyze with the 3 level of analysis. Okay, first, idiosyncratic factor. The second one is state factor, and the third one is structure factor. Okay, so when we analyze with the 3 level of analysis, we go into the hegemonic stability theory. For Southeast Asia or the Asia Pacific nowadays, we have the 2 major power, okay, and they are create the new balance of power in the international relation, especially in Southeast Asia. As we know, actually, Southeast Asia is a most fragile, what we call region. Okay, why? Because from then until now, since 1960s until 1990. This region is the field of the fighting against US and USSR, Soviet and United States in Cold War. After Cold War and in 1991, from 1991 until 2000, we have the unipolar system. Only United States as a hegemonic power around the world. We don't have any power other than United States. But after 2001 until now, we call it as a multipolar system. All right, for the new balance of power in Southeast Asia, Malaysia is a neutral country. Seems like Indonesia. We are the members of NAM, Non-Alignment Movement. Okay, I remember about the Persidangan Bandung. Okay, Persidangan Bandung, and berkenaan dengan the form of the NAM and EM. So as a neutral country, in the same time as a small power in international structure, what should Malaysia do? First, Malaysia not apply the what we call as bandwagoning methodology. Malaysia apply hedging methodology. Why? If you apply the bandwagoning methodology, you should to be as a proxy of the major power. Sorry to say, Singapore is one of the country who are apply the bandwagoning towards their foreign relations, and they are very pro to the West. Same like Malaysia, we are apply bandwagoning when the Tunku Abdul Rahman Tino as the prime minister, first prime minister. But after 1973, okay, after 1973, Malaysia changed their foreign affairs from the bandwagoning to hedging, more neutral. Be a friend to everybody. Be a friend to every major country. Nowadays, Malaysia is a friend for the United States. Malaysia is also friend for the China. In the same time, Malaysia is friend with the Russia and every major power. Escape Israel. Why? Because Israel is not a state. Sorry to say, I don't know the stand of Indonesian, but for us Malaysia, okay, for us Malaysia, we are not recognized Israel as a sovereign country, because in our passport, okay, significantly said, pasport ini sah digunakan untuk semua negara kecuali Israel. Significantly said. So that's why we are very hate about Israel. But the reality is, Malaysians cannot live without MACD. They are only boycott for 2 months or 3 months. But for sure, today is 8th of December. Inshallah, on January or February, they will come back to the MACD, Subway, what else? Something like that. So guys, this is my question. Okay, very significantly, Malaysia apply the hedging methodology towards their national, what we call as foreign affairs. Thank you for your question. Thank you.
Satu lagi, mungkin?
Ya. Kok semua lanang ya bertanya?
Oke, nanti satu lagi loh, perempuan.
Oh, perempuan boleh ya? Bisa aja. The girls is only 3, right? Oh, 4. Okay, 4. Is it the lecturer? Okay, lecturer, you are not allowed to ask a question. Okay, thank you so much. Because you are lecturer. All right.
Okay, thank you for the time. Now, pardon me in advance, my question is a little bit complicated, but it's about the Muda party that I just researched quite a bit. I used to have an experience in Malaysia, sir, back in Penang, in a student exchange. So I went there for about 5 months, and I could see a little much of political participation in campus area. Yes, okay. I really saw that. So at that time, there was a little push for the government transparency, and it was happening in my campus, USM. Okay. So I could see them, and they also advocate the Sabah and Sarawak rights about their identity card that wasn't being processed for a couple of years. They made a protest in the campus, but in regard to the Muda party, though, pardon me in advance because I'm not quite familiar with this party actually, but a little research I did right here that this party just lost quite a significant amount of their voters because their very leader committed corruption just this November, right? Just this November. How do you think they could keep up with this? Because you see, they had a lot of hope when they were created. A lot of youth trusted them because they bring some kind of ideal changes to geopolitics, strategic politics, and everything important for the state of Malaysia. But they suffered a lot of strategic defeat just this year and a couple of years before, especially this year because of that corruption case and a couple of the problems. Now, what do you think? How do you think this party could survive in the future? That's my question. Because, how do you think that?
Are you meaning for Barisan Nasional? Huh? Are you meaning for Barisan Nasional as the party? The
youth party, yes.
Youth politics.
The youth party. I forgot the name. Hold on. I googled it.
Can you simplify what do you want to know?
There is this new party created in 2018, right?
Okay, yes.
Yeah, that party, the youth party. I forgot the name. I'm sorry.
Muda.
Yeah, the Muda party.
All right.
Yes, the Muda party.
one of the members of Muda is here. Okay.
Oh my God.
No. He's still Muda. He's still young.
Yeah.
Muda means young, right? Right. Everybody is here is a party of Muda because we're still young.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
That's
Thank you so much. This is the actually this is a very sensitive question actually, and but I had to answer this question with dengan penuh kemurnian again, right? So if you see the future of Muda, okay, nowadays the president of Muda is going to jail because they have some cases in the court, and yes, they are admitted to the jail, but he's still a man. He's still able to amend the what we call hukuman yang dikenakan. But the future of Muda is every political party, they have the grassroots. Okay, the biggest political party. Okay, I'm not saying about the political coalition, political party. Okay, for example, Barisan Nasional, Barisan Nasional, or the National Front is the political alliance. Under the Barisan Nasional Political Alliance, they have a few political party. UMNO, they have a MCA, Malaysian Chinese Association, they have a MIC, Malaysian Indian Congress. Okay, that UMNO is meaning United Malay National Organization. So guys, I'm going to the political party. Okay, every political party, they have the grassroots. All right, grassroots. Seems like in Malaysia, PDIP, Gerindra, and too many political party in Indonesia. They have the party. They have to. So when the president of the party was charged with some kesalahan or something like that, the deputy president will become the acting president. Yes, will become as acting president until the new election, AGM, we call as AGM. Okay, the next election for the political party. So the party is still can educate the works for the party. That first. The second one is every political party, they still have the support from the civil society. They still have the support from society. For example, that's only for example, you are the friend and the supporter for the Golkar, for example. But the next of you is one of the supporter for the PDIP because he's very impressed with the Megawati Soekarno Putri, for example. And the next to her is one of the pengundi setia Pak Prabowo from Golkar anti Gerindra. So when the Pak Prabowo become as a president of Gerindra, he's become the supporter for the Gerindra. Okay, so the existence of the supporter can be maintained the survival of the political party. Seems like Muda still have the supporter. Even Muda has lose in every state when the state election, when the what we call in general election, but they still have a seat in parliament. They still have the support. They still have the fund, means money. So you cannot say anything. Even your political party is very big. Your political party is very strong and something like that. But if you don't have a money, for sure you cannot maintain or sustain your political party. Okay, that is the reality of the political scenario in Malaysia. Thank you, Dr. Ali. Why wedoknya? Oh ya, bukan. Okay. Okay, this one. So I just conclude all the question here. Thank you so much. So this is a reflection. Okay, yes, about the ethnic relation in Malaysia is quite. Yes, ethnic relation we are very good in Malaysia nowadays. We just have a slightly and a little conflict in 30 May 1969. Okay, we have the May 13 tragedy, but before May 13 crisis and after May 13 crisis, we don't have any more about the ethnic conflicts. Why? Because we apply the Rukun Negara as our philosophy, national philosophy, kepercayaan kepada Tuhan. Kalau kita nak dibandingkan ketimbang Pancasila, Pancasila ketuhanan yang Maha Esa, if I'm not mistaken, right? Alright. But in Malaysia, kepercayaan kepada Tuhan. Every Malaysian should and must have the religion. You cannot be a Malaysian when you don't have any religion. So we are not accept the atheists. We are not accept the agnostic. Even they are agnostic, even they are atheists, but they are not to show to the public. Every Malaysian should be and must be have the religion. So this is our first article or the first philosophy of the Rukun Negara. So our Rukun Negara and our federal constitution is the granted for the national stability, especially for the ethnic relations, because we are very fragile, we are the multiracial. Malay have their own interests, Indian have their interests, Chinese have their own interests. They have to demand everything from the government. So what is government do? Government implement the Rukun Negara as one of the methodology to stabilize politics of Malaysia. Okay, the second one is a youth participation in Malaysian politics. Youth participation in Malaysian politics is quite increased in 2018, but after 2018, quite decreased because they are very boring with some politics issues, party hopping and something like that. So they don't want to take any seriously about the politics of Malaysia. But this is a challenge for the government of Malaysia, especially for us as a government officer and as a lecturer in Malaysia, to educate the responsibility to the youth to going out for the vote, the party. I don't care, I said to my participant and to my student, I don't care which party do you want to vote. This is your choice. But the most important thing, you must going out to vote because this is your responsibility to the nations. I said like that. So this is the youth participation in Malaysia. Yes, nowadays quite decreased, but for sure inshallah for the next election, general election, the numbers will be increased inshallah. And the last is halal industry between Malaysia and Indonesia. Actually, this is not my core. This is not my core. Who's belong this question? Aulia. Aulia. Do you know your name is Aulia? Oh, yes. Halal industry between Malaysia and Indonesia. As we know, Malaysia is the new halal hub in Southeast Asia. We have the license to produce the halal meat, the halal product to Malaysia, but I don't know the Indonesian halal product. Okay, but our previous government, they are struggle to maintain the image of the hub, the halal hub for Malaysia, because in every Islamic country, we are the members of OIC, same like Indonesia, OIC. Sorry, this is a fact. Malaysia is #1 for the hub halal in Southeast Asia and Islamic country. Even the population of Malaysia is only 33 millions compared ketimbang the population of Indonesia, who are 2,270 million, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, I was saying with Dr. Ali, the population of Malaysia 33 millions is only about Jakarta, Tangerang, Banten, and something like that. Okay, but the population of Malaysia, the population of Muslim in Malaysia is only 65 until 70%. Okay, ketimbang Indonesia, they have 80%, 85% of Muslim in Indonesia, population of Muslim in Indonesia. So guys, why? Because we are playing the active role during with the OIC organization. So if Indonesia want to do some what we call policy into the halal hub industry, this is my suggestion. Please don't do for yourself. we have to cooperate together because we are serumpun. Your face and my face is same. Okay, so guys, please promote. Okay, don't do for yourself because we are worried if you do yourself, you will overtake for the Malaysia. So please, can do some collaboration between Malaysia and Indonesia. Why? Because Malaysia have the experience, Malaysia have the branding, Indonesia have the market. Yes, 2017 million people. You have a huge numbers of market. So you have to combine Malaysia and Indonesia. Malaysia have the experience how to manage, Indonesia have the market. So you combination, you combine the halal hub in Malaysia and Indonesia. So win-win situation. You can develop and also Malaysia can develop as well. Okay? All right. Thank you so much, guys. And I hope we can meet in the future, inshallah. And I'm very sorry if my presentation is not fulfill your expectation because I'm just give my public lecture with the casualty and very relaxed vibes. Okay. And please salam damai dari Malaysia agar kita terus bersaudara hingga ke akhirnya. We don't have any difference. We sharing a lot of similarity. Yes. Why we still want to find the differences. So guys, terus damai. Assalamualaikum. Ini tandanya sudah masa ya.
Ya. Thank you Pak Hisam atas presentasinya. Baik, mari kita akhiri forum kita pada sore hari ini. Kita tutup dengan membaca Alhamdulillah bersama-sama. Alhamdulillah. Kita akhiri dengan sesi penyerahan. Ada sertifikat ya? Oke, sertifikat Pak.